There's something the world rarely talks about, something that flips the script on everything we've been told about love, attraction, and aging. Most people think men only fall for youth, that once a woman hits a certain age, her chances of captivating a man's heart begin to fade. But what if I told you that's not just wrong, it's backwards? There's a quiet truth men won't admit out loud. A truth that becomes crystal clear when they meet her. The woman who walks into a room with presence, speaks with certainty, and carries years of lived experience behind her eyes. She's not 22. She's not chasing validation. She's over 40. And men don't just notice. They fall. Not because she tries harder, but because she knows better. In this video, we're breaking down the real reasons men fall harder, not despite a woman being over 40, but because of it. And once you understand this shift, you'll never see love, power, or your own worth the same way again. When a man meets a woman who radiates emotional maturity, everything about the interaction changes. It's no longer about surface level attraction or momentary thrills. It becomes about connection. That kind of woman, especially when she's over 40, has likely walked through fire, loved deeply, lost painfully, and learned how to carry herself through both triumph and heartbreak. And that shows, not in her words, but in her energy. She doesn't get rattled by small things. When a man doesn't text her back immediately, she doesn't spiral. When a date doesn't go as planned, she doesn't make it about her worth. She knows how to hold space for herself. And that right there, that's powerful. Because emotional maturity is not just about knowing how to manage your own emotions, it's about knowing how to create calm in the storm. That calm is something men crave but rarely know how to ask for. It's like breathing fresh air when you didn't even realize you were suffocating. A woman over 40 has usually had time to understand her emotional patterns. She's not projecting her pain onto others. She's not looking for a man to fix her. She doesn't need saving. She's done the inner work. She's had the hard conversations with herself. And now, when she speaks to a man, she speaks from a place of grounded honesty, not fear. She doesn't dim her light to avoid being too much. She doesn't pretend to be less intelligent, less opinionated, or less successful just to soothe someone else's ego. She shows up as she is, and that's exactly why she stands out. When men encounter this kind of emotional clarity, they lean in. Because deep down, men are tired of the games too. They're tired of trying to read between the lines. Tired of navigating insecurity masked as flirtation. A woman with emotional maturity doesn't confuse him. She guides the interaction without even trying. There's no need to play hard to get because she's already a challenge in the most beautiful way. Not because she's unavailable, but because she's selective. Not because she withholds love, but because she doesn't give it away carelessly. She can handle differences without turning them into drama. She doesn't explode over miscommunication. She explores it. She doesn't punish silence. She questions it. And she doesn't make her worth dependent on how much attention she's receiving. That emotional independence is magnetic. Men feel safe around it. They feel seen, not judged, challenged, but not attacked, loved, but not smothered. Her responses are thoughtful, not reactive. When something goes wrong, she pauses, she reflects. And when she does speak, she communicates what she feels without shame or blame. That level of self-awareness creates a completely different dynamic, one where real intimacy can grow. Because emotional maturity isn't just about handling problems well, it's about creating a space where fewer problems even need to happen. The relationship flows more easily because both people are operating from a place of honesty and self-respect. And it's not that younger women can't be emotionally mature, but life experience plays a massive role. When a woman has been through enough situations to know what matters and what doesn't, she naturally becomes more grounded. She lets go of perfectionism. She stops needing everyone to like her. She no longer takes every slight as a personal attack. And that growth is attractive, not in a flashy, look at me kind of way, but in a calm, steady, soul-level way. It creates safety. And for a man who's ready for something deeper, that's where he starts to fall, not just with his eyes, but with his heart. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who doesn't seek validation from others to feel good about herself. When a man meets a woman over 40 who carries herself with quiet confidence, who doesn't second-guess her worth based on his reaction, it changes the energy of the entire interaction. She's not auditioning, she's not performing, she's simply being. And in that being, there is power. Confidence like that isn't loud or boastful. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it naturally. She walks into a room and doesn't need to be the center of it. Her energy speaks for her. She's not trying to impress anyone, and ironically, that's exactly what makes her so impressive. When she talks with purpose. When she listens with presence. That sense of groundedness is what draws people in, not just men, but everyone around her. Men notice when a woman isn't looking to be rescued, when she doesn't need constant reassurance to feel beautiful, loved, or valuable. That doesn't mean she's cold or emotionless. It means she's filled her own cup. She's done the work to understand her value, and she's not handing the keys to her self-worth over to someone else. This is where so many connections fall apart. When one person looks to the other to constantly fill the gaps they haven't filled within themselves. But this woman, she doesn't bring gaps. She brings wholeness. Her confidence shows in the way she speaks her mind without fear of judgment. If she doesn't agree with something, she says so. Not out of confrontation, but out of clarity. She doesn't shapeshift to match someone's preferences. She's not trying to become someone else's ideal. She already knows who she is, and that kind of certainty is rare. Men are used to being admired for what they can provide, fix, or solve, but when they meet a woman who doesn't need them for any of that, when she wants them but doesn't need them, that's when the dynamic flips. That's when he starts trying to prove himself to her. She doesn't compete with younger women because she knows that beauty fades, but presence lasts. She's learned that no amount of external validation can replace the feeling of liking herself at the end of the day. So she doesn't chase compliments or approval. She dresses for herself. She speaks her truth without watering it down. And when she loves, she does it from a place of abundance, not insecurity. That's the kind of love men don't forget. Her confidence also shows in how she handles rejection. She doesn't beg for closure or cling to someone who isn't showing up. She walks away with grace, knowing that what's meant for her won't require chasing. That kind of self-respect is magnetic. It tells a man, I value myself too much to settle. And that message, whether spoken or not, is crystal clear. It draws in men who are serious, who are grounded. That does not displease. She trains men who are serious, who are ready to meet her where she is. She's also confident enough to be vulnerable, because real confidence isn't about pretending to have it all together. It's about having the courage to be seen, flaws and all, without shame. She's not hiding behind a mask. She's not afraid to say, this is who I am. And that kind of authenticity creates deep attraction, the kind that goes far beyond the physical. A woman who doesn't need validation doesn't try to convince anyone of her worth. She simply lives it. And when a man witnesses that, it wakes something up in him. It invites him to rise, to meet her on that level, to give not from obligation, but from admiration. And that, more than anything, is why men fall for her so deeply. When a woman over 40 knows how to set and honor her boundaries, it becomes one of the most attractive and powerful things about her. She doesn't do it to be difficult or to play games. She does it because she's learned the value of her time, her energy, and her peace. She's not afraid to say no, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. That clarity is incredibly attractive to a man who's looking for more than just surface-level connection. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're doors with locks that only open to those who deserve to be let in. A woman with clear boundaries doesn't tolerate mixed signals or inconsistent behavior. She doesn't make excuses for someone who doesn't show up the way she needs. She's not afraid to walk away from something that doesn't serve her just because it feels comfortable or familiar. That kind of strength can feel intimidating to some, but to the right man, it's magnetic. It tells him that if he wants to be part of her world, he needs to come correct, not perfect, but honest, respectful, and consistent. She's also not afraid to speak up when something doesn't feel right. She doesn't sit in silence hoping a man will read her mind or magically change. She communicates her needs clearly, and she does it without begging or blaming. She knows that expressing what she wants doesn't make her needy, it makes her clear. And in that clarity, a man knows exactly where he stands. That eliminates so much of the confusion and frustration that usually destroys relationships before they even begin. She brings emotional safety through her honesty. What sets her apart is that she doesn't lose herself in a relationship. She knows where she ends and where someone else begins. She protects her identity, her values, her passions. She makes time for the things that matter to her, not because she's trying to be independent for the sake of it, but because she understands that a healthy connection is built between two whole individuals, not two people trying to complete each other. She knows that her life doesn't stop because someone new has entered it. She simply makes space, but she doesn't shrink. When she creates boundaries, she does it with grace. It's not harsh. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling what she allows into her life. She can love deeply and still say, this behavior doesn't work for me. She can be kind and still be firm. She can be open and still protect her standards. And that balance is rare. It shows a man that he's dealing with someone who values herself enough to not let just anyone have access to her heart, her body, or her time. A woman over 40 has likely learned the hard way what happens when she doesn't set boundaries. Maybe she's been taken for granted, manipulated, or stayed too long in something that drained her. But now, she's different. She's done the work. And she doesn't carry resentment, she carries wisdom. That wisdom shows up in every decision she makes, every conversation she has, every time she says, that doesn't feel right to me. And when a man sees that, he knows he's not dealing with someone who's just looking to be chosen, he's dealing with someone who is doing the choosing. Boundaries also create mystery, not because she's hiding anything, but because she doesn't give everything away at once. She paces the connection. She lets trust build. She doesn't allow access just because someone asks for it. That makes every step with her feel more meaningful, more earned. Men appreciate what they invest in. And when a woman with strong boundaries invites him deeper into her world, he knows it's not just a privilege, it's a responsibility. And that's where real attraction begins. Not from chasing, but from recognizing that she's someone worth rising for. A woman over 40 has reached a stage in life where she no longer has the patience for emotional games. She's not interested in wasting time trying to decode someone's intentions or getting caught in the back and forth of hot and cold behavior. Her focus has shifted entirely. She's not chasing excitement that burns out quickly. She's choosing peace, presence, and quality. That shift changes the way she connects with men. And men can feel the difference instantly. She knows the signs of someone who isn't serious. The last-minute texts, the inconsistent effort, the vague promises. She's seen them all before, and she doesn't entertain them anymore. It's not that she's jaded, it's that she's clear. She values her energy, and she knows what it feels like to pour into someone who isn't capable of reciprocating. So now she's more selective, not because she's closed off, but because she's finally open to the right things. When a man shows up with real intentions, she notices. Not because he says the right things, but because his actions are aligned. She pays attention to consistency, to effort, to how she feels around him. She doesn't get swept up in charm without character. She doesn't confuse chemistry for compatibility. And that kind of emotional discernment changes the dynamic entirely. Men who are used to playing games quickly realize that she's not playing back. She's not impressed by grand gestures without follow-through. She's impressed by presence, by depth, by someone who shows up when it matters. She also doesn't manipulate or test people. She doesn't pull away to get attention or create jealousy to feel wanted. That's not her style. She communicates directly. If she's interested, she'll show it. If something bothers her, she'll bring it up. There's no need for guessing or decoding because she values clarity. That kind of openness makes her refreshing to be around. A man doesn't have to walk on eggshells. He can just be real because she's being real too. Her preference for quality extends to how she invests her time. She's not looking for someone to fill a void. She's looking for someone to add to a life she already enjoys. That means she's not rushing into anything just for the sake of being in a relationship. She's intentional. She's willing to move slowly if it means building something that lasts. And when a man sees that she's not chasing attention or validation, it makes him want to give it to her even more. Because it's clear that if she chooses him, it's not out of desperation. It's a conscious decision. She's also not afraid of being alone. In fact, she values solitude when it brings her peace. That self-contentment is powerful. It tells a man that he's not walking into a situation where he has to constantly prove himself or fill an emotional gap. She's already whole. That doesn't mean she doesn't want connection. It means she's approaching it from a place of strength rather than need. And that makes the relationship more balanced, more genuine, and more fulfilling for both people. When she gives love, she gives it with intention. She listens deeply, supports authentically, and celebrates a man's growth without trying to control him. She's not trying to mold anyone into her ideal. She's simply looking for someone whose values align with hers. She's more interested in emotional safety than surface-level perfection. And that emotional safety becomes the foundation for real intimacy. What makes her so attractive is that she doesn't just say she wants something real. She lives like she does. Her boundaries, her choices, her presence, they all reflect a woman who is serious about love, but not desperate for it. She's not waiting to be chosen, she's choosing. And when she does, it's not about status, appearance, or empty words. It's about how someone makes her feel over time. It's about who shows up consistently, who communicates clearly, who brings peace instead of chaos. That's what she values now. That's what she's grown into. And that's what makes men not just attracted to her, but deeply drawn in. A woman over 40 has lived through enough to develop a depth that can't be faked. She's had experiences, real, meaningful, sometimes painful ones, that have shaped the way she sees the world, and that lived wisdom makes her a powerful partner. She doesn't just bring love to the table, she brings insight, resilience, and emotional strength. She's learned that relationships aren't about perfection or fantasy, they're about growth, honesty, and shared purpose. And when a man encounters a woman with that kind of substance, it changes the way he experiences connection. She knows how to weather storms because she's been through her own. She's picked herself up after failure, disappointment, or betrayal. She's rebuilt herself, sometimes quietly, sometimes painfully. And because of that, she brings a calm steadiness to a relationship. She doesn't run at the first sign of discomfort. She understands that love, real love, isn't just about the highs, it's about navigating the lows with grace. She knows how to stay present even when things get hard, and that kind of emotional endurance makes her deeply trustworthy. She also brings perspective. She doesn't magnify small problems or let minor setbacks define the relationship. She's seen enough to know what really matters, and that wisdom allows her to focus on the bigger picture. When a man is struggling, she doesn't panic or take it personally. She listens, she supports, she offers insight, not judgment. That ability to meet a partner where they are and help them rise without controlling or fixing them is one of the quiet superpowers she's developed over time. She's learned how to communicate with intention. She doesn't dance around the truth or let resentment build. She's honest even when it's uncomfortable, because she understands that real intimacy can't exist without real conversations. She doesn't play roles, she shows up as herself, and she invites her partner to do the same. That openness, that emotional transparency builds a foundation where both people feel seen and accepted. It creates a level of emotional safety that makes deeper love possible. Her life experience also means she's not reactive. She doesn't spiral into assumptions or cling to old wounds. She knows how to regulate her emotions, how to pause before responding, how to separate past pain from present circumstances. That emotional intelligence makes a man feel understood, not judged. It gives him space to be vulnerable, to drop his guard, to show up authentically. And in that space, real connection grows. She's developed a strong sense of self over the years. She knows her values, her limits, her non-negotiables. She doesn't compromise who she is to keep someone else. That clarity makes her a stable, rooted presence in a relationship. She doesn't shift with every opinion or outside influence. She's grounded. She's lived enough to know who she is, and that self-awareness makes her incredibly attractive. Her priorities have shifted too. She's not chasing superficial things. She's focused on emotional compatibility, shared values, mutual respect. She wants depth, not drama. And because she's not distracted by shallow desires, she's able to invest her full attention in what truly matters. She doesn't need constant stimulation to stay interested. She finds meaning in presence, conversation, real emotional connection. That kind of focus is rare, and when a man feels it, he can't help but be drawn in. She brings balance. She knows how to give without losing herself. She knows how to support without rescuing. She knows how to challenge without criticizing. That blend of strength and softness, wisdom and warmth, makes her the kind of partner who doesn't just inspire attraction, she inspires respect. A woman who has turned her life experience into emotional richness is unforgettable. She elevates the man she's with simply by being who she is. Her presence challenges him to show up fully, not because she demands it, but because she naturally sets the standard for what real love feels like.